Have you ever looked back at a choice you made and thought, what if? What if I'd taken the other path? What if I'd stayed? What if I didn't walk away? That question can sit heavy, can it? Because regret is powerful. It can haunt you. It can follow you into your quietest moments and make you question your judgment, your timing, your courage, all of it. But I need for you to hear me clearly. Regret doesn't have to define you. It doesn't have to be a cage. After 10 years in the Air Force, I walked away. And for a long, long time, I was convinced it was the single biggest mistake of my life. That regret felt like a constant weight, like a shadow I couldn't outrun. But that regret also taught me something. Something I still use today in this very season of reinvention. So in this episode, I'm going to share my story. And I'm going to give you the steps I used to stop living in the past and start building a life that doesn't live in regret. Stick with me, because if you've ever second-guessed a major decision, today's video is for you. And if you're new here, welcome. You're safe here. Hey friend, welcome back. Still serving, still leading, still learning. Because this season isn't a pause of your life until the offer comes. This season is build stamina, build faith, build strategy. Okay, now that job update connects directly to today's topic because regret and reinvention are cousins. They sit at the same table. Let's talk about it. Before I take you back to that moment in my life, I want to anchor us spiritually. Because regret loves to preach. Regret will stand in the pulpit of your mind and deliver the same sermon every day. You should have known. You messed up. You waited too long. You missed your chance. Let me stop. But you know how those preachers are. You should have known. You messed up. You waited too long. You missed your window. That was your one shot. But regret is not your pastor. Regret is not your God. Regret is not your future. So here's today's anchor. It's Romans 8:28 in the NIV version. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Now let's slow down and really sit with that for a minute. It doesn't say God works for good when you get it right. It doesn't say God works for good when you don't make detours. It doesn't say God works for good when you don't have regrets. It says in all things. That includes that decision you made with limited information, that relationship you stayed in too long, the job you took out of fear. It includes that opportunity you didn't take because you felt unworthy, the season you lost to grief, depression, survival, or caretaking. It includes the door that slammed in your face and made you question if you were even called at all. All things. And if you're like me, you might believe that verse, but still struggle to apply to that thing you're ashamed of. So let me make it practical. What Romans 8:28 does not mean, it doesn't mean that everything that happened was good. It doesn't mean that the pain was fair. It doesn't mean that you should pretend it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean you weren't wrong or that you didn't lose something real. It means God can take what was painful and still produce purpose. It means your worst chapter can still be somebody else's survival guide. Remember that. Now let me give you another anchor that pairs beautifully with regret. Joel 2:25. I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten. Oh, that's a word in itself. That verse has carried people through some things, because regret often feels like lost years. Years you can't get back. Time you can't reverse. Energy you spent in the wrong place. But God says, I can restore. I can redeem. I can repay. Not always by giving you the exact same things back, but by giving you something that makes you look back and say, wow, God, I see why I had become who I became. And here's another one for you. Isaiah 43:18. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. That one will step on some toes, because some of us don't just remember the past. We live there. We rehearse it. We revisit it. We relitigate it. But Isaiah says, don't dwell there. Because God is doing a new thing. And you won't recognize it if you're still staring at what you lost. Now let's make it a little bit more personal. The spiritual difference between conviction and condemnation. This is important because it gets to the heart of regret. Conviction is when God points something out to heal you and guide you. Conviction has hope. Condemnation, on the other hand, is when the enemy or your inner critic uses the past to shame you and shut you down. Condemnation has no hope. Regret often masquerades as wisdom, but it's really condemnation. It's like, I'm just being real. No, friend, you're just being harsh. And if the voice in your head only points backward and never gives you a path forward, that's not God. God corrects with love. Regret punishes with shame. So when you feel regret rising, I want you to practice a spiritual reframe. Instead of, I ruin it, try, God can redeem it. Instead of, I missed my window, try, my timing is being refined. Instead of, I should be further, try, I'm being prepared. Now let me give you something you could actually say out loud. A short regret release prayer. You could use it at any time. God, I bring you the part of my story I keep replaying. I surrender the shame, the self-blame, the fantasy that I could have controlled what I couldn't see. Show me what this pain is trying to teach me. Restore what was lost, God, and redirect what still matters. Give me peace for the past and courage for the next step. In Jesus' name, amen. Now let's take a breath. Because some of us just felt a little tightness loosen in our chest. Now let's go back to my story because it's the perfect bridge to the REACH model. To understand my regret, you have to understand what I was leaving behind. For a decade, 10 years, the Air Force wasn't my job. It was my identity. I joined at 17, and it was 10 years later, I was 27. My days had rhythm, structure, a clear purpose, the sense of belonging. It was real, y'all. The women and men I served with, they weren't just colleagues, they were family. There's a shared language in the military, an unspoken understanding you don't find anywhere else. So why leave? It wasn't one big dramatic thing. As a single woman in the service, my path felt different. I loved my career, I did, but I had a burning desire to do more, to lead at a different level. So my plan wasn't to leave forever. It was to leave, go to college, and then return as an officer. That dream became my new mission. I did the transition program. I applied to college. I got accepted. I had a farewell lunch. I had a framed photo, signed the DD-214, walked out the gate, real excited about my future. But that feeling, temporary. The first few months of civilian life, they were a blur. College was different. I went from being a respected NCO to just Vanessa. On campus, I was surrounded by 18-year-olds worried about parties and papers, and my mind was still operating with military discipline and a decade of responsibility. I felt like I was speaking a different language. The camaraderie was gone. People were friendly, but they weren't sisters and brothers in arms. They didn't get the shorthand, the humor, the shared grit. The sense of the mission evaporated. My purpose became my GPA, and that clear direction I used to have got replaced by this vague feeling of figure it out. That's when regret started planting seeds. I'd lie awake and replay the decision. What if I stayed? Started looping in my mind. But I kept telling myself, it's temporary, because the plan was still in motion. Get the degree, go to OTS, get back to the life I missed. I graduated with honors. I was so proud. I was ready. I put together my OTS package, my letters, my grades, the narrative, everything was strong. And then I went for my medical screening, and that's when everything changed. A condition had developed since I left active duty, medically disqualifying. No waiver, no exception. That door didn't just close, it slammed. And the regret came after that. It wasn't just emotional, it felt physical, like an ache in my chest. What if was no longer a hopeful question, it became an accusation. What if I had just re-enlisted? What if I didn't bet on this path? What if I didn't leave something stable chasing something bigger? And here's the trap regret sets. My brain started editing the past like a highlight reel. All I could remember was the purpose, the sisterhood, the pride. I forgot the bureaucracy, the stress, the bad leadership, the parts I used to complain about. Regret will romanticize what you left and demonize who you were when you left it. And for a long time, I became convinced that was the biggest mistake of my life. I lived under that shadow for years. Living with regret is exhausting. Y'all, it's like trying to drive forward, staring in the rearview mirror. Eventually, you crash. My crash wasn't dramatic. It was slow. I was becoming bitter, drinking too much, cynical, stuck. And one day I realized I can't keep living like this. The shift started with one decision. I'm going to have to face this regret instead of letting it drown me. And here are the steps that helped. Step 1, acknowledge and accept it. For years, I either ignored it or wallowed in it. But the first real step was simply to say, okay, I feel regret. Not judging myself, not shaming myself, not rehearsing punishment, just naming it. I started journaling, getting it out of my body and onto paper. I regret leaving. I feel lost. I feel like I failed. And naming it took some of its power because unspoken pain grows. But named pain can be healed. Step 2, learn what the pain is teaching you. Regret is a teacher, y'all. It's a neon sign pointing towards what you value. So I stopped asking, what if I stayed? And started asking, what is this regret showing me that I need right now? And the answer wasn't a time machine. The answer was I needed purpose. I need community. I need structure. I need meaning. I need to feel like I'm a part of something bigger than myself. So the regret wasn't really about the uniform at all. It was about what the uniform represented. That reframed everything. Because now regret wasn't a dead end, it was a compass. Step 3, practice self-compassion and forgive yourself. This was the hardest one for me because my inner drill sergeant was loud. You failed. You made the wrong call. You should have known. But I had to learn how to talk to myself the way I would talk to someone I love. Firm? Yes. Cruel? No. I found the REACH model of forgiveness, and I realized I could apply it to myself. REACH is an acronym, and it's also a research-based forgiveness model developed by Dr. Everett Worthington. It's taught for forgiveness of others, but it can be incredibly powerful for self-forgiveness as well. And I want to slow down here because some of us think forgiveness is a feeling, but forgiveness is often a process, a practice, like physical therapy for your heart. The R is for recall the hurt. This step isn't about re-traumatizing yourself. It's about telling the truth because healing requires honesty. Recall what happened, what you lost, what you hoped for without rewriting history or minimizing your pain. For me, I left the Air Force with a plan to return. I was medically disqualified. That hurt. I felt like I lost my identity. So how do you know you're doing this step well? You can name what happened without jumping into a self-attack. The E is to empathize. This is where self-forgiveness becomes radical. Empathy asks, what was true about me then? What did I know then? What was I trying to protect? Instead of judging your past self like a prosecutor, you start seeing her like a human. For me, the young Vanessa wasn't quitting. She was striving. She was ambitious. She didn't know a medical condition would throw her off track. The A is altruistic gift of forgiveness. This step is about remembering you've been forgiven before. Maybe by God, maybe by a loved one, maybe by someone who saw your heart. And it reminds us, forgiveness is a gift you can offer even to yourself. The C is commit to forgive. Forgiveness gets slippery because your brain will try to reopen the case. So you commit. Write it, speak it, pray it. My commitment statement. Today, I forgive myself for leaving the military and for outcomes I couldn't foresee. I release the punishment. And then the H, hold on to forgiveness. This is the maintenance step because the memory may still come back, but you meet it differently. You don't restart the shame cycle. You don't reopen the trial. You remind yourself, I've already processed this. My example, when regret shows up, I don't entertain it. I redirect it with a forgiveness script. And you repeat it when the thought resurfaces. I made the best decision I could. God is still redeeming my story. So that's reach, R-E-A-C-H. Now we're going to move on to the fourth step. Take action in the present. Regret keeps you in the past. Action anchors you in the now. So I built what I missed: purpose, community, structure outside of the military. And that's when regret stopped being a shadow and became fuel. Now let's talk about the life I live now and how I make decisions in a way that protects my peace. Because yes, regret taught me, but it also trained me. And these principles, they're not cute quotes for me. They're boundaries, they're safeguards, they're how I stay out of emotional quicksand. And I hope you can use them. Number 1, know your values and rank them. A lot of us think we know our values, but we never name them. So we make decisions based on fear, urgency, comparison, or somebody else's expectations. Here's what I've learned. My decision honored my ambition, but I didn't fully honor my need for community and purpose. So now I don't just ask, is this a good opportunity? I ask, is this aligned? An action step for you? Write down your top values and rank them. Examples: faith, family, health, service, freedom, stability, impact, peace, adventure, learning. Number 2, ask your 80-year-old self and your 8-year-old self too. The 80-year-old version of you sees with clarity. She's not impressed by titles. She cares about courage, love, integrity, and joy. But I also ask my 8-year-old self, what did she dream about before life scared her? That's the combo. It's powerful and incredibly useful. So a self-check is, will I be proud of this choice or relieved when it's over? Number 3, take action, any action. Momentum beats perfection. The enemy of reinvention is waiting for certainty. Certainty is not a requirement for movement, y'all. And at 58, I refuse to freeze until everything is guaranteed. That's why I apply for Hail Mary roles. I do, not because I'm delusional, contrary to popular belief, but because I'm brave. An action step for you. Pick one dream and take a 15-minute step today, not someday, today. Number 4, prioritize people before you need them. Community isn't just nice, it's protective. The military gave me built-in community. The civilian life taught me you have to build it intentionally. So now I nurture relationships on purpose. An action step for you: text one person today. Thinking about you. Can we catch up this week? Number 5, and so incredibly important, stay in your lane. Comparison distorts calling. Comparison makes you forget your timeline, your assignment, your healing, your responsibilities. And it will have you chasing someone else's life and calling it motivation. No, that's a distraction. A self-check question for you. Am I inspired or am I feeling pressured? Number 6, act with integrity so you could trust yourself again. Integrity is how you rebuild self-trust. When you do what you said you do, when your action matches your beliefs, you stop doubting yourself. And when you trust yourself, regret loses power. Your action step for this one: make one promise to yourself this week that you will keep. Small, simple, concrete. Number 7, leave room for redemption. Don't idolize the plan. This was a big one for me. Sometimes the regret comes from idolizing your original plan, like it had to be that way. But what if God is not limited to the path you imagine? What if the detour was training? The self-check question for you: what if this didn't ruin my life? What if it redirected it? Hey friend, my story is proof that regret doesn't have to be the end. It could be the beginning of a deeper, more intentional way of living. So I want to ask you, what's a regret you've been carrying? And what is it trying to teach you? Drop it in the comments. You'd be amazed how much healing happens when we realize we're not alone. If this resonated, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with someone who's stuck replaying the past. Hey y'all, I'm Vanessa, and this is Waves of Change. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I'll see you tomorrow for day 60. Bye.